3 habits of confident communicators. You want to be a confident, eloquent, charismatic speaker? Habit number 1 is they are fantastic listeners. We've talked about this several times on this channel. But really, the key to being a great communicator is to listen first and to listen most. If you were to put it on a pie, on a ratio, maybe 70 or even 80% of the time, you should be listening or asking open-ended questions, being engaged with the person. And then that rest of the 20% of the time, you are talking. And that actually includes the questions you're asking, the open-ended questions, the questions that show you understand the topic or you're listening and you're engaged. Even if you don't understand a point, you'd say, you mentioned A, B, and C, but I don't understand this particular point, or what happened there, or how important was that? What effect did it have? You want to be making sure you're asking open-ended questions to show you're engaged, you're a key listener. And so when then you do contribute, people are actively listening because they have felt heard. Point number 2 is when you do communicate, it's deliberate, and it's concise, and it's to the point. You want to make sure you're getting to the point, not beating around the bush, adding a lot of fluff and bluff in your words. People lose attention when you're not going straight to the point and there's a lot of excess talk. People can't follow along. If it's clear what point you're making, you can just, and then you provide an example, you can use, for instance, the Peel structure. Point, example, explanation, maybe you can even add analysis, and then link it back to the question or to the main subject. So really focus on that point, provide a couple of examples, explain your point, but link it back to the point you're making. Be deliberate, be concise, and so people will listen. They will be able to follow along and understand. Tip number 3 to be a fantastic communicator is to stay calm, composed under pressure. You see, many a time in pressured environments, the mediocre or less speakers are separated from the great speakers. Because the mediocre speakers, they get nervous, anxious, and that's reflected, and their speech is affected. It's reflected in their speech, and you can see how it's affected in the way they communicate. Because they're nervous, they're umming, they're erring, they're not coming across as confident, they're not going straight to the point, they're nervous, so maybe they're talking very quickly, excessively fast. And so, on the other spectrum, the other hand, the confident, calm, composed individual who is calm and composed under pressure, they, despite having that pressure, those intense questions, being in such a difficult situation, they can still listen well, go straight to the point, answer questions eloquently, with brevity, with eloquence, going straight to the point and adding value. That's the sort of communicator you need to be.